We begin the news at this hour in West Africa, where the Nigeria Labour Congress has declared a two-day nationwide protest on 27th and 28th of February. The union, while addressing newsmen in Abuja, said the government has consistently refused to keep to agreements it made with the union, thus the need to protect Nigerian workers. Marvelous Obomanu reports.
With Nigeria's inflation rate currently on the rise, many workers say the last few months have been difficult to cope. Nigeria's organized labor in a State of the Nation press conference in Abuja says government has continued to pay lip service to the plight of Nigerian workers.
NEC unanimously noted its deep disappointment and condemned the actions of the federal government in refusing to implement the agreements and reached the following decisions. That it stands on the ratify the 14-day ultimatum issued to the federal government within which to implement the agreement and address the mounting crisis of survival by Nigerians. That the notice expires on the midnight of Thursday, the 22nd day of February 2024. That if on the expiration Congress is not satisfied with government's compliance with the conditions of the notice, Congress will be at liberty to take action that will compel government to implement the agreement.
The union says it has declared a two-day nationwide protest on the 27th and 28th of February and called on other affiliate union members to join the protest.
NEC in session declares a two-day national protest on 27th and 28th of February to demonstrate outrage on the mounting hardship and insecurity around the nation. If our demands are not met after the nationwide protest, to issue a 7-day notice that will expire on the 2nd day of March 2024 to the federal government, after which an indefinite nationwide strike will ensure.
When asked about the purported 1 million naira minimum wage, the NLC president said as far as the naira keeps depreciating, even the amount will be insignificant for a Nigerian worker. He says the government should make the review yearly to capture the current realities affecting workers.
If the Nigeria naira continues to depreciate, 1 million naira will be a child's play to the minimum wage. As of today, we are talking of about 1,500, 1,600. So if it continues that way, 1 million naira will be too small for the worker. And the minimum wage, we're going to insist for the review to be annual. Or else if you collect any money and the value of the currency is changing per hour, it will not make any sense, and it will be illogical, to return that amount for the next 4 or 5 years.
Many Nigerians will be hoping that the federal government will do all it can to resolve this issue before the ultimatum expires. In Abuja for News Central, Marvelous Obomanu.
Election stakeholders have called for the establishment of a specialized election court that will handle all pre- and post-election disputes to enable their timely resolutions. They say that with the increasing number of litigations recorded from the 2023 general elections, there is a need to improve the process and amend the Electoral Act to reduce the time election tribunals take to resolve disputes. Idong Joseph reports.
Election litigations have become a regular feature in Nigeria's election cycle. This usually spans over disagreements with the conduct of party primaries to the election proper, including methods adopted for the declared results. And drawing from the 2023 general elections, about 1,209 petitions were filed by candidates and political parties challenging the entire electoral process.
One organization which has monitored the 2023 general elections disputes says that there has been an upsurge in petitions over grievances against the process, but expressed concerns over the delay in resolving the disputes at the courts.
The whole process of court is a difficult process to prove your case and win at the court because the whole process is cumbersome. One of the things we want to see is that justice is thoroughly done, not on the basis of technicality, on the basis of the substance of the matter.
At this panel discussion, which reviewed the entire litigation process of some election dispute cases, stakeholders here say the conflicting decision between the electoral body and the judiciary is eroding confidence on the electoral process.
Whether the ballot box, should be the final determinant of an election, or the courtroom should be the final determinant, because I think, as a commission, it needs to be recognized that the two elements are part of a single legal process.
If they say it was not issued by them, he wins. If they say that this is the authentic certificate we issued to this man, that is the end of the petition. So in that case, you cannot say it is the court that is returning somebody as winner of the election. No.
The executive director of Kimpak's Development Initiative is calling for a special court to lessen the overwhelming caseload of election disputes.
What we have now, where you have loads of cases and the court is busy for 2 years handling the election matter and then abandon their regular job, is a sustainable process. So we should be looking at probably we have a special court for electoral matters because it looks like it has come to stay.
Stakeholders have called for a review of current legislation to reduce the litigation timeline, as they say this is too long when placed side by side with the swearing-in of candidates. In Abuja for News Central, I am Idong Joseph.
Now to further discuss this, I'm joined by Bukola Idowu, Director, Kimpact Development Initiative. Good morning, Bukola. Thank you so much for joining me on the news. Hello, Bukola. Can you hear me?
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
All right. It's a pleasure. Now, Bukola, how do you think a specialized election court would impact the independence of the judiciary and also the transparency and fairness of the election process?
What we are calling for is not something new. There have been conversations in this country around constitutional court, and specialized court has been done in this country before. So we are looking at a situation where special electoral courts will handle the issue of election and election matter. Don't forget there have been conversation also going on around election offense commission. We want to set up a commission that will be looking for election offenders, and which means instead of going and then having a proliferation of commissioners around, why not have a simple election court that will be able to handle all election matters? Now, if you look at May 2022, that was when the party had their primaries. And after that primaries, you have over 1,800 cases that went to the court and eventually resolved February 20. All of them were resolved February 2023, the month of the election. So, which means the judiciary started working on election matters, which are also time bound up to the Supreme Court. That is pre-election matter from May 2022 to February 2023. Immediately after February 25 elections, the presidential election, the governorship election in March. So what happened is that then post-election litigation started. So which ended again just 1 year after where we have. So approximately now, the court is using 2 years to handle a general election matter, and that is general election matters. I have not mentioned the off-cycle election. And don't forget, out of 36 states, we have 26 states are not in off-cycle. So we are going to have 2 off-cycle elections again this year. So what it means is that the judiciary have a lot to do in their hand. And at the same time, one of the things we also discover is that according to the law, it is 180 days, it's time banned, election matter is time banned. So which means the judiciary abandon their job and face election matter for 2 years, and that is not sustainable. People who have cases in the court bear the brunt, both civil, criminal, and both civil criminal cases are all pending. And that is why we say, look, why not? Because election is what you now run yearly now. Just this month alone, INEC is conducting over 20 elections. So what it means is that they have a lot to do. So we are calling for the electoral court to look into this without necessarily affecting the normal work.
All right, so now talking
judiciary.
about having a lot to do, it seems like a huge task. Would the specialized courts be constitutional, or would it require a constitutional amendment?
Yes, it will require constitutional amendment. Don't forget, election petition tribunal we have presently is a creation of the Constitution. So what we have presently is election petition tribunal that the Constitution says must be set up 7 days. The registry must be set up 7 days to the election, and so they have to sit for 180 days. So what do we need to do? We go back to the Constitution, amend the Constitution. Luckily, the Senate just inaugurated 42 man panel for constitutional review. So what it means is that we need to amend the Constitution, and then also now from the Constitution give life to the Electoral Act to take it further from there. And that is basically what we need to do.
All right, so now what specific, parts or amendments to the Electoral Act would be needed to establish these courts, these specialized courts?
So presently now, as it's been constituted, we have Electoral Act, the section that talks about pre-election matters should be handled by the Federal High Court alone. Pre-election matter should be handled by Federal High Court alone. It is in the Electoral Act of 2022. So that will be amended and then just be domiciled into the special election court. The second thing is the post-election cases, which happen to be like a tribunal up to the FCT. FCT is also to set up the tribunal. Now, what it means is that that particular session will also be set up that particular session that allow post-election litigation to be domiciled by the tribunal. At the tribunal will now be amended too. And don't also forget, specialized court is not new in Nigeria. Presently, we have industrial court that handles all manners of industrial litigations. Don't forget, we also have another court that is the Code of Conduct Bureau is a court. And don't forget, we also have special court for Sharia. Lagos State has special courts that handle domestic issues, things around gender and domestic and family courts. Let me put it that way. So it's not new in Nigeria. And we are just saying, look, for judiciary to be able to do their job and for them to be able to build expertise, and so that we don't disturb one another, and also as a process to unbundling INEC, then you just need a special court to handle election matters.
All right, Bukola. Now we all know that in Nigeria, politics and corruption has actually affected so many wonderful ideas. Now, but what safeguards will be needed to ensure that a specialized election court does not become politicized or even corrupted?
Yes, and thank you for that question. And I think that is one reason why we need the specialized court, because what we have presently now is that you have a court system that allow people, for instance, let's talk about the pre-election cases. You have the Electoral Act says it's only the Federal High Court that can also undo pre-election cases. So you now see a situation where a politician who is close to a particular Federal High Court judge in Nasarawa, for instance, and then take his case from Rivers and to Nasarawa because he knows it's Nasarawa that he can quickly get that judgment. That kind of corruption will be stopped, because you are going to now have a federal cases and federal election cases domiciled with the electoral court, who will have built competence over the years, and which their judgment can be subject to review by the appeal, and the Supreme. And because we have barrage of precedents now, so they withdraw their strength from that. And again, the last thing I'm going to say is that they are going to be easy to be punished, because people already know what guides them, and that with that now you can actually safeguard what they are going to do. Unlike the present the present system we have, that let me give you an example. Some people sat on cases in this tribunal, sat on appeal. The tribunal. And then they were just transferred to the state to sit on that cases. And after committing all manners of error, they go back to their state and sit on a regular case. Those issues of pre-election cases or the tribunal they have sat on and make blunders of probably whatever happened. It has gone and gone forever. But with the electoral court, that is not going to be, because that is going to be monitored by both by the citizen and the NJC, who will put measures in place to making sure that these people follow the code of conduct that will set them up.
All right, now let's say that these safeguards you've actually talked about works, right? Doesn't it set a dangerous precedent that could lead to a creation of other specialized courts for other issues?
No, I don't think so, because we were not having this conversation. We were not talking about what is going to set a dangerous precedent when the Nigeria decided to go and have an industrial court, when we had the code of conduct Bereau, when we have for instance, Sharia court is also a specialized court. You don't take a regular case to the Sharia court, and we don't take cases, civil marriage cases, civil cases, we don't take it to the industrial court. It's this with specialized industrial dispute. We don't also take we don't also take issues around civil cases to code of conduct Bereau. So what we are talking about is that if you want efficiency in the system, we all know division of labor enhanced productivity and timely dispute of matter of issues. So, and that is exactly the reason why we are calling for this. Again, don't forget that because you want speedy investigation of corrupt cases, Nigeria decided to set up EFCC, ICPC to quickly deal with issue of corruption that we say, oh, it's too cumbersome for the police to handle. And this is exactly the same thing. The logic that sets all these institutions I've mentioned up is what we are saying, look, set this thing up. Now, I give you an example. I hope you notice that most of the electoral offenders for 2023, nothing has been said about them, because that is not what concerns people. So someone has killed during the election, someone has got riots during the election, someone stolen the ballot paper, ballot box during the election, someone rigged during the election, they were arrested. What is happening to them now? Nobody is hearing anything, because the courts are busy with the main election. Now that the main election is gone, most of the judges are going back to their regular court cases. So now you cannot imagine that people now every election year on every election cycle, either off-cycle election, people now take election offenders just go scot-free because the court process is cumbersome. They don't even want to take more, and even the investigating officer could not even do thorough investigation, because even if you go to the regular court, at some point it's being thrown away because it's a whole lot of systemic challenge. So what we are saying is that this will enhance productivity within that sector and enhance effective and efficient and timely delivery of electoral justice. And that is what it will help to do. For instance, now, after the election, 1,209 petition rose from that election and then up to the Supreme Court. No, I mean, it's not a sustainable system. If you have to look at it, it's not a sustainable system. We have to, free the judiciary to also do their traditional role. Because if you don't and begin to domicile it, you are gradually dragging the judiciary, the entire judiciary, into the political arena, which is not their, which is not what they should be doing, and it's not going to augur well for the country.
All right, well, we'll hope to see how far this goes in the coming days. But thank you so much, Bukola Idowu, for joining me and speaking on this. Welcome back, and thank you for staying with us. Now, the primaries for the All Progressives Congress in Edo State holds today across different wards. 12 candidates across Edo North, Central, and South were initially contesting to fly the party's flag come the governorship elections later in the year, but just yesterday, one pulled out of the race. Now we're joined by our correspondent Bernard Akede, who is reaching us live from Benin, the Edo State capital. Hello, Bernard. Thank you so much for joining me at this time. Hello, Bernard. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
All right, Bernard, can you give us an update of, how the primaries is actually coming along? What measures are in place to ensure a smooth and efficient primary election process in terms of logistics and also security?
We've been seeing security operatives patrolling the area. Currently, I'm at Ward 2, Oredo, in Benin City, the capital of Edo State. And, security is quite safe here, or rather, should I say, security is on ground here. They've been patrolling the area. And I'm currently joined by the chairman of this particular ward, Comrade Sunday Omokaro. We've been speaking to him earlier as regards how this particular process is going to take place, and I'd like him to intimate us a bit more on what exactly is expected here. The people have started to arrive gradually. We're supposed to start by 9. It hasn't started yet, but I'd like him to intimate us more on what we're expecting today. Good morning, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
We would like you to please tell us what we're expecting here in this particular ward, which I'm sure will be replicated in other wards across the state.
Well, we should be expecting a free and fair primaries. This is Oredo Ward 2, and it's the biggest ward in Edo State. I happen to be the chairman of the ward. We are peaceful, and we have to keep it that way. Everybody will vote his conscience. That is the position of the party.
So we are expecting INEC officials, or who exactly are we expecting at the moment?
INEC officials are already here. We are expecting the three adult officials from the party that will conduct the primaries. That's why we have not started yet. You can see that everywhere is crowded. So we're waiting for them before we kick off.
And one final question, Mr. Chairman. I was discussing with you earlier concerning the, the pulling out of one major candidate that people were looking at. Can you intimate us as to what exactly happened? Because there are speculations as to why he decided to pull out from the race at the dying minute.
That is a personal matter. I am not Pastor Sage Ezeyabo. He pulled out personal reasons. No, yesterday he addressed a press conference that he's pulling out. I think he gave 1 or 2 reasons for it. So I think we should be okay with that. Thank you. God bless you. God bless you.
So Dasha, we've heard from the chairman here in Ward 2, the largest ward in this area. This is Oredo Ward 2 in Benin City, in the largest ward in Edo State, according to what he said. And this is Ward 2 in Benin City, the Edo State capital. From here, we would be going around other wards to see what the process is like, and then we'll be reporting back to the station.
All right, Bernard, now given the history of the internal party disputes within the Edo APC, do you have an idea of what steps are being taken to prevent any post-primary fallout and also to unite the party behind the chosen candidate?
Dashan, could you please take the question again? I didn't hear you.
All right, I was saying, given the history of internal party disputes, within the Edo APC, we actually have an idea of a few of them. Do you have an idea of what steps the APC is actually taking to prevent any post-primary fallout and also to unite the party behind, the chosen candidate?
Yes, I was in a conversation with the chairman here a few minutes before we went live, and he said that the party is united. He said the party is united, all candidates are united, the party supporters are united, but that it goes beyond the state level. They also are taking instructions and are being spoken to from the federal level. So based on that, there's unity in the party and amongst the various candidates. Everybody who's supposed to vote will vote, and they hope that the best man in this case would win. As a matter of fact, he also said that part of the reason why, the candidates who pulled out did what he did yesterday could be also because of certain instructions from, from the federal level as well, just to ensure that peace reigns. If you remember, there are candidates from Edo North, Edo Central, and Edo South. And I think at this time, they're trying to zone it to Edo South. But all candidates are peaceful and that there's unity and harmony amongst them. Again, they are hoping that the best candidates would win.
Well, that's the most important thing. But thank you so much, Bernard Akede, for joining me and speaking on this. We'll definitely get more updates from you.
Thank you for having me.
All right, away from that, residents of Nigeria's capital, Abuja, have expressed displeasure over the sealing of popular supermart Sahad stores by the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission. While the management of the supermart refused to comment on the incident, there are allegations that it might be connected to price fixing. Amadin Uyi tells us more.
The seal order boldly displayed at the gates of the Sahad stores located in Abuja. It was evidently clear that the action by the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission has left many residents in awe. As they drove by the facility, you could tell by the look on their faces.
Sahad Stores is one of the most popular superstores located within the city center. Over the years, they have built a brand known to sell goods at wholesale prices, which means customers can get goods cheaper here with very high quality. Now we heard today that the Federal Consumer Competition and Protection Agency sealed Sahad stores today, and we came here to verify. We tried to speak with some members of staff at the annex facility over there. They refused to speak with us, but some of the customers we met on ground expressed disappointment, saying they remain perplexed at whatever decision would have caused the FCCPC to seal these stores.
Drove all the way and fuel is not cheap to come and buy some things here, and it's sealed and I don't know why. I really don't know the reason why it's sealed, but I'm pretty disappointed.
It's a shock to me. I live around here and I shop here. So it's a shock to me, and even my kids, they were the ones that told me, Mom, you go online and see what's happening to Sahad. And I'm like, I don't understand what's going on with Sahad. And they're sealing up the place. They said their prices are too expensive and all of that. And I'm like, is this some kind of vendetta or something? I mean, it's strange. It's news. Everybody knows Sahad to be, the cheapest.
I usually buy Saralak on twice a week for my child. The rate I got at Sahad is 12,000 naira. But accidentally, mistakenly, if I happen to be in the town and I know, instead of me to come to Sahad, if I'm to buy it somewhere, the price is usually is about 13,500 naira. As at even yesterday, at the nearby supermarket is 14,000 naira. And to me, Sahad stores is the most cheapest supermarket I've known for the past since 1992 that I've been in this town.
Some of them say the action will have telling effects on their budget.
Sahad is affordable among most of the other stores. So we come here when we want a knockoff or a discount. It's going to affect my budget, and we don't have a budget anymore.
It will, because as I've said today, if you are buying Saralak at 12,000 naira or 11,500 at Sahad, if you go to the nearby malls, it should be 14,500 naira. Some people drove all the way from Maraba to Sahad. Some drove all the way from Karu. Some from Gusape. Some from Apo to Sahad because of the 5-10 naira differences.
In Abuja for News Central, I am Amadin Uyi.
Now in northeast Nigeria, survivors of conflict, victims and de-radicalized women in Borno State are demanding economic empowerment and an end to discriminatory practices. The Alamein Foundation organized a peace-building initiative that brought together all the actors and mediators for peace and development in Maiduguri. Umaru Kirawa completes the report.
Ali Abdu Bolori was once a successful businessman in Maiduguri, the Borno State capital. The 64-year-old lost one of his wives and became crippled at the peak of the insurgency. Ali narrated his ordeal and experiences of starting life afresh.
Ba laifi mun yafe musu mu da kanmu mun yi ma ubangiji laifi in ba a yafiya ba zai yafe muna ba ki duk wannan fitintunin samarin nan in suna da aiki ba zai taso ba kwata-kwata rashin aikin nan shine masifa.
While many stories of such are left untold, survivors, victims and some de-radicalized women shared their stories, highlighting the challenges they have endured and the need for support to rebuild their lives.
Since 2011, my son was arrested. I want to see my son. We want justice.
They emphasized the importance of inclusive and sustainable economic empowerment programs that provide opportunities for financial independence.
It's a plus to Borno State that there is a documented requirement by these groups of vulnerable women and girls on their specific needs to every stakeholder, so that collectively, what are we doing? We are all doing to complement, trying and then struggling to complement what the government is doing.
Among the demands were requests for skills training, access to microfinance programs, and mentorship initiatives to help them establish their own businesses and secure a better future for themselves and their families.
To ensure that this does not happen again, and there is a critical emphasis, please ensure that justice is done to everybody irrespective of differences.
Borno State government revealed that over 6,900 of the de-radicalized insurgents have been successfully reintegrated into the society.
All we need to do is to strengthen the collaboration and be accessible to every organization, so that, as His Excellency has always said, this issue of peace and security is not a one-man or only a government show.
The peace-building journey might be rough and tough, but the collective effort and support is said to spring better and egalitarian society. In Maiduguri for News Central, Umaru Kirawa.
Health stakeholders in Nigeria's capital Abuja have tasked citizens to be more vigilant on the health status of their children and ensure the early detection of cases of child cancer. They say this will ensure the quick and compulsory treatment of children diagnosed, which can give them a high chance of survival. Some of them took to the streets of Abuja as part of efforts to mark the World Child Cancer Day and raise awareness on the need for early detection of child cancer in children. Amadine Uyi has details.
Child cancer has become more popular in recent years, with over 400,000 children between the ages of 0 to 19 diagnosed annually. The most common types of child cancers include leukemia, brain cancer, lymphoma, and solid tumors.
Cancer in children is widespread across the nations, across the world, and that is why we have World Cancer Day celebration, because it's a disease that cuts across the globe.
As the world marks the World Child Cancer Day, the Akanimo Cancer Foundation took to the streets of Abuja to raise awareness about child cancer.
Today, we are simply creating awareness about childhood cancer to tell the world that childhood cancer is a thing, it's real. Children can get cancer too.
They also expressed concern about misinformation on child cancer being peddled around.
There's a lot of misinformation about cancer. People think it's village people, it's juju, it's babalawo, it's everything. And it's only when it gets to the terminal stage that they finally pull themselves to the clinic.
We have medical reasons for causes of cancer. Cancer does not have anything to do with witches and witchcrafts, but you know that we believe that every physical thing has a spiritual spiritual origin.
For many Nigerians, the idea of a child diagnosed with cancer is unimaginable. This is because in this part of the world, it is usually attributed to superstitious beliefs or the handiwork of witches and wizards. However, available technology now makes detection of cancer in children possible. There are some here who believe that early detection is key because it can save the life of that child that has just recently been diagnosed with cancer.
The very first benefit of early detection is that the cancer can be contained within the organ where it started. So the thing about cancer is this: it starts from one place, and then what kills is that it spreads to other organs, especially vital organs of our body.
They urge parents to be more vigilant over their children so as to ensure that they detect any cases of child cancer.
All you need to do is pay attention, please, to those simple complaints of your children. Do not ignore them.
In Abuja for News Central, I am Amadin Uyi.
Nigeria, situated along the Gulf of Guinea in West Africa, boasts of a vast coastline that stretches over 853 kilometers and encompasses a maritime territory abundant with untapped potential. At 90 trillion naira, based on 2017 estimates, the value of Nigeria's maritime assets is about 10 times the size of Nigeria's budget of 2018, which is at 9.12 trillion naira. Nigeria's maritime assets have long remained a source of intrigue, offering a treasure trove of opportunities for economic growth, strategic development, and international trade. The surge in economic activities on Nigeria's waterways brought with it increased security challenges that has threatened livelihoods, economies of nations, and individuals.
Specifics that they could have been happy on by now in terms of policies. I would think and assume that they are down writing the policies that will guide them on the various departments that should run the Ministry of Marine and Blue Economy. That's what I think the Honorable Minister should be doing with his team now. Putting together a lot of inputs, like papers and stuff, to see how they can drive the processes. Because there are three main issues in the blue economic stuff. The space, the maritime domain itself. In Nigeria, from Lake Chad to the Atlantic, all the rivers, all the streams. So you'll be looking at issues like fisheries, you'll be looking at issues like shipping, and of course, marine culture and security. Outside that, you'll be looking at the issues of the knowledge itself. How do we build capacity for the ministry? The challenges are not much, but let me bring it to our local stuff. You will hear things like, and I think it's part of it, lack of funding. But lack of funding must not be abused or looked at from the point of appropriation, but must be.
We'll find out more about the effectiveness of the Nigerian Navy to curb maritime insecurity and end the theft of Nigeria's ocean resources. Watch Maritime Radar on Saturday, 7 p.m. and a repeat on Sunday, 1 p.m. on News Central TV. Coming up after the break, Senegalese hail vote delay overturned by Constitutional Council. We'll bring you more on this when we return. News Central now continues in West Africa, where residents of two Senegalese districts where protests were expected have welcomed the decision by the Constitutional Council to annul President Macky Sall's decision to postpone the presidential election. However, a few dozen protesters gathered in another neighborhood to pressure Sall to respect the ruling. The president's decision to postpone the election had triggered the worst crisis in Senegal for decades. He has now vowed to organize elections as soon as possible. The Constitutional Council's decision was met with relief by some who hope it will calm the country.
En organisant l'élection le 3 ou le dimanche, nous avons fait toutes les simulations. On reste dans la limite du 2 avril et donc le 2 avril, le président de la République pourra faire sa passation de service avec son successeur.
C'est important qu'il nous rattrape. C'est-à-dire que ce que le Conseil constitutionnel a fait hier, c'est un acte très important parce que tout le monde commence à douter de l'état de droit.
African Union Commission head Musa Faki Mahamat has raised alarm over the violence gripping some African nations and other parts of the world. This comes ahead of a gathering of the African Union in the Ethiopian capital Addis Ababa. Mahamat said Sudan is in flames while also highlighting the terrorist threats in Somalia, eternal tensions in the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo, the terrorist danger in the Sahel, and constant instability in Libya. He also said the resurgence of military coups, pre- and post-electoral violence, and humanitarian crises linked to war and/or the effects of climate change are all serious sources of concern. A mini-summit aimed at finding ways to relaunch the peace process for the DRC opened Friday on the sidelines of the main AU meetings. Now, in the Rainbow Nation, authorities say 7,710 people were murdered in South Africa between 1st October and 31st December 2023. This represents an increase of 155 murdered people from the same period during the previous year. Police Minister Becky Sele made this known on Friday when he released the third quarter crime statistics, which cover last year's festive season period. Sele said 4,882 suspects were arrested for murder and attempted murder for the period in review. He commended KwaZulu-Natal, Eastern Cape, and Free State provinces for being able to register a reduction in the number of people murdered during this period.
The third quarter crime statistics for the past 2 consecutive terms, we had noted a reduction in the number of murders reported. During this period, but a total of 7,000 people were murdered. It is disturbing and concerning that the number of people murdered during this period increased. This is 3 months.
South Africa's opposition Democratic Alliance Party candidate John Steenhuisen on Friday made public the DA's plan ahead of the general elections. President Cyril Ramaphosa's historically dominant African National Congress is struggling in the polls months before what is expected to be the most competitive election in decades.
I believe that after 30 years, we've reached that critical tipping point. And that's why this election is going to be unlike any other in the past 30 years. In every other election, people have just known the ANC was going to win. It was just by how much. This election, all bets are off. And we've seen the polling. The ANC is polling well below 50%. And it gives us an opportunity now to be able to unseat them. And in this election, for the first time in South Africa, there's a united opposition bloc that's working together. By far the largest bloc outside of the ANC. Of course, race is going to play a role in this election, but I think the role that race will play in this election will be far less than it's played in elections in the last 30 years. People in South Africa are desperate. They are struggling under one of the largest cost of living increases in the...
In other news from around the world, supporters of Alexei Navalny have gathered outside the Russian embassy in Washington, D.C. to pay tribute to the man widely acknowledged as Russia's main opposition figure even when he was behind bars. Officials in the Arctic prison where Navalny was serving a 19-year sentence announced his death. From New York and Washington to cities in Western Europe to capitals of former Soviet bloc states, mourners showed their respect for Navalny, a charismatic lawyer who rallied domestic opposition to Russia's President Vladimir Putin. Many were quick to blame Navalny's death on Putin. But according to one of the mourners, Navalny was a representation of hope to Russians living in the United States.
It's important to show that even those of us who have immigrated, trying to get a better life, knowing that that is completely impossible for us to get to any sort of a more just, a more democratic country in Russia, that we still care about what is happening there, and that for a lot of us, this loss is a significant blow to our hopes of ever returning back.
Alexei Navalny was representing hope. I'm 27 years old, and much of my adolescence was in Moscow. I witnessed Navalny protest there firsthand. I witnessed how many people he drew to the streets. I witnessed how many eyes he has opened, how many people he has educated on the...
That's all at this hour. But before we go, let's take another look at some of our top stories. We told you that All Progressives Congress set to hold governorship primary election in Edo State. We also told you that Senegalese have hailed vote delay overturn by Constitutional Council. And finally, you heard that coups, conflicts and crises confront African Union ahead of its 37th summit. Send your eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number on the screen. Do follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. You can watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, Star Times channel 274, Avo TV, and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I'm Darshan Usman.